Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode in the Migrant Series. And in this series, we talk about journeys of different migrants and how they've been able to navigate their careers and thrive in their respective industries. In today's video, we have a software engineer. She really inspires me because she's a woman in STEM doing so well. A software engineer in a leading finance organization in this country. And she's going to be sharing her journey from being a student, an international student, to navigating the career space and now thriving in our own career. So without further ado, please welcome Ngozi. Ngozi, welcome to the channel. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for coming on the channel. Would you like to introduce yourself? Let us know a little bit about your journey, what inspired the mighty move to UK, and then how that has been for you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here and to answer questions and potentially help other people with what I have to say. So, I have been in the UK since 2018, and that's almost 7 years now. I moved for a master's degree for 1 year, and then after that, I've worked two different jobs, the current one being one of the two jobs. But basically, before moving to the UK, I wanted to do my master's. I was thinking Canada. I applied there. Unfortunately, didn't get anywhere. A family member of mine then said, try the UK. I did mine there and, just advised. So I was like, okay, let me try. The two places I applied to in the UK, I got both of them. I was like, okay, like the one I want, I don't get. The one I don't want, I get. But eventually I came here and it has just been smooth sailing. God has really just helped throughout the process, and it has been a good experience in this country. So that's what influenced my move to the UK. So as an international student, my stay it started out really sad and like lonely, but eventually getting a community was like the best thing that happened to me. So I had friends in school, friends at church. Having a community is like one of the first things anybody should do at the early stage of anything you're doing. And just having that support system really just changes the trajectory or the way life would go on for you.
And I like the fact that you mentioned community because interestingly, we met at one of such communities. We met at church, and I remember how just seeing you thriving in your own career was enough inspiration for me as well to just keep pushing and advance. And before we move on in this video, we'll play a quick game. I'll just ask you this which you would prefer, either this or that, and I don't want you to don't overthink it, just whatever comes to your mind first. So are you an early bird or a night owl?
I would say an early bird, yeah.
I think you actually look like an early bird in some sense. Coffee or tea?
None. Hot chocolate or nothing or water. I detest both of them, honestly.
That's a valid point. Okay, would you rather work from home or work from the office?
I like hybrid, so I've done both, and I like hybrid. That's
If
so
you had
right
to
in the
pick
middle.
one as a
Ah,
permanent work
yeah. I
structure.
actually think I will pick work from home now.
And you were going on and on about community, and are you sure about your community stance? Would you rather emails or endless Teams calls?
Emails, please. It can be in an email. We do not need to be on the. Oh, send an email, please.
And if you were to choose one between a job that gives you 40 days leaves or a job that you work all year long with high pay, what would you pick?
Oh, leave. I'm such a preacher of using. Oh, I don't know. I haven't really said this, but I'm such a preacher of. I travel a lot, and leave, taking that break, so that you don't have burnouts. I am big on it. I tell anybody that has an ear to do it. So, yeah, 40-day leave, please.
So transitioning from university, you were a student and now you've gotten your first job. You said it wasn't really what you wanted. And at the time, it was something that you could get by with because of your visa restrictions. So how was that transition like finding that job, the first job, and then moving on to the next job?
Okay, so I wouldn't say it wasn't what I wanted because to be really honest with you, I feel that was the foundation I needed to be able to grow my career in this country. And that's one thing I would always tell people when you're looking for that first job, do not be very strict on location, do not be strict on like as far as is in the space you want to be in, let that be a foundation. Let that be a time when you actually gain all the skills, all the experience of first time in the country, gain something on your CV. First off, the how I was able to think of getting a job and how I got the job. So, as part of community that mentioned earlier, I had a friend of mine, my classmate at the time, who from the first day he moved to this country, he was all about let's get a job, let's get a job. And by the time we finished just the first semester of our masters, he had gotten a job, and I was like, wow, this is possible, for us to be able to do this. And the job he got was to start after our masters ended. So he was always very like, how is it going for you? Are you applying? And he really just helps with that support and that push that I needed. So I kept applying and everything. Eventually, I was able to get a job just after my graduation, like a couple weeks after graduation. Then I was able to start the following year, at the start of the following year, which was really good for me. So that's how I got my first job. The first job was kind of something called the KTP. At the time, it was not very popular. I do not think it's popular still. And what it means, it was like a university that is big enough to give a sponsorship. A smaller company, sometimes the company might also be big, and it kind of tends to be like a research program or project, and then an individual, which is the student that just graduated, a new graduate. So all three in collaboration would be able to do, be able to sponsor you. You work for the company. If there's a paper and a research paper that comes out of it is in the name of the university. So things like that, everybody is a win-win for everybody. So that was my first opportunity. It was quite small in Belfast, and I was so happy about it. At the time, I didn't know anybody moving there, and that's one other thing I would like to say. Do not be really strict on I would like to stay in Scotland. I don't want to leave Scotland. Be open, cast your nets everywhere because this is your first opportunity. You just want something that will give you first a foundation, a name on your CV that yes, I've worked in the UK, the sponsorship. So wherever it is, go. Eventually you can now find okay, I prefer this than that, I rather this than that. And that's actually what's happened in my case. So it was a contract role that was ending in 18 months. And eventually I was like, okay, I would like to go back to Scotland because that's what I'm used to. I would like to be in Glasgow. I would like to be in a core software engineering field. And I would like to work with other software engineers. And eventually I was like, okay, let's look for something else. And that's when I then applied for this other role. And now I'm working in a different place. And I think I have grown so much since that first one. But that first one was a needed foundation that led me to this point.
Wow. And I think there's so much to unpack there. So you previously didn't mention, if I didn't mention as well, you were in Glasgow. So that's where we met. We met in Glasgow. And then you had to move all the way from Glasgow to Belfast. And then you said you moved for a contract role. So I understand that. And I also love the fact that you've mentioned the visa question. So one of the things that a lot of people tend to worry about, especially in getting their first role post study, is visa. And I know that even from my experience, the first role I got, it wasn't the visa question was not particularly resolved. So how did you navigate knowing that this is just an 18 months contract role? It doesn't exactly secure my future. So what was your thinking like at that point in time? So what's kept you going, or what was the rationale behind making that decision?
Okay, so I think my case might be a bit different from people now in the sense that as at 2018, 2019, when I got this job, there was no post-study visa. Post-study visa started the year after my set graduated. And that meant that this job obviously had to sponsor me for me to stay in the country. So for me, it was the case that, oh, they're sponsoring me. I might not particularly know anybody in Belfast, but this is here or Nigeria. Like,
Mm.
and Nigeria, it's not like there's a job waiting for me. It would now be me going back home to find a new job or find my feet again. And I'm like, this is a great opportunity. I will go. I don't know anybody. I don't know anything. I will just take that first step. Eventually, the road will become clearer. The more you move. But before then, at least I have something that I can hold on to. That I can say, okay, at least I've earned money in a different. I've gotten the experience. It's just something you can definitely learn. And now tying it to people now, I know a lot of people I have friends who say that I'm really looking for the first one I wanted to be sponsored, so I already start my journey. But I will say that yes, that's a good thing to do. Look for sponsorship, ask about it. However, it doesn't mean that you should turn down an opportunity. As far as the opportunity, like I think I may have said this before, is in the space you want to be in. So if you're a tech person, is in tech, you know that he has a good future. They're not going to sponsor you, but at least with this, I can start gaining the knowledge, the skills that I need, or even just the UK experience. Maybe you already have Nigerian experience, but you want that UK experience on your CV. That's a starting point. But it doesn't mean that you should now sit down in that role and be comfortable. Obviously, you know that that is not the end goal for you. So you need to do something more. So you then start looking in other places while you're still like getting skills and knowledge in this place that you're currently at. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, that does. That does. Not holding back if it's not in your respective field. And I think even if it's not even in your respective field, if it's an industry, as provided you get that experience, sometimes experiences can provide transferable skills that you can then transfer to your the actual role or the relevant industry that you prefer in some
Mm.
instances. And there's something you had mentioned in passing that I also want you to talk on. You mentioned that you tried to get a job and you didn't get a job until December of when you finally graduated. So I can imagine that was you looking for a job for the entire year. So, what was that job hunting phase like? The first time, and then the second time when your 18 months contract was about to expire, I can imagine that was also another job hunting phase. So, what was the experience of both experiences like, and what would you say were the things that helped you thrive in those seasons?
Okay, so for the very first one, obviously I'm new to this country, and a bit of my background was, if you're Nigerian, you know NYSC. So after uni, you do NYSC. Right after NYSC, I moved here. So I didn't have many years of industry experience, to be honest. The only thing I would put to my name is like an internship during uni and my NYSC year. Both times I worked in a tech company. So that was as much as I knew. I came for my master's. That also gave me like grow actual tech skills. And then I started, this job search. During my master's, it wasn't the easiest because, most companies, especially the ones that sponsored, they are big companies. They want the best of the best, and it's you against like how many thousand, other people. So the competition was there. I know how many times I almost gave up because I was just very sad. The number of we regret to inform you, we regret to inform you, regret to that you see, and you're just like, God, I'm tired of this. I can't do this anymore. But I think this comes back to the fact that one, you have to just be let go of all of that. Like, don't tie yourself to that. It doesn't mean you're a failure. It just means that, like, with each one, write down things that you think, okay, I would have done better in this way, or these are the kind of questions that I struggled with. You learn from each experience and try to do better in the next experience as it goes forward. And then, so I think that's what I try to do each time, speaking to people, you looking for resources online. So for tech roles, there are places where you can actually practice technical questions online. And I feel the more you do, the stronger you get, the more confident you are. And I feel with each process that comes after the next one, you just feel more like, okay, I actually know what I'm doing now. Even if like you might still struggle, but it just gets a lot better. So that's how the first time was. And then the second time I came in, like I was no longer applying for graduate roles or entry roles. I came in as an experienced person. I applied for an experienced professional role. And I find that one was so nerve wracking. So my visa was expiring in August. And as at April, the company was still saying, "Oh, we'll keep you on, we'll not keep you on." Eventually, they told me we cannot keep you on. So literally, how many months till my visa was mid-August? My visa was going to expire. So I started like brute force application. The same, and the thing is, I knew very few companies at the time were looking for Python software engineers. And that was I was. I'm a Python software engineer. Yes, I was bombarding the company, bombarding them. Like I did like 10 different applications in 1 week, like 3 different interviews just because I really, really wanted to get into this one company, and I knew that that's like a good place to be and all of that. So for me, that's what the second one felt like. Obviously, it had been some time since I had done interviews, so it was also a learning process. With each one, I was taking notes. These are the kind of questions I struggled with. This is a place I should look at trying to better myself in. And speaking to people that I knew, thankfully, a few people who worked in the company who were past classmates. So I was like, okay, how is it? What do you think? What kind of questions should I ask or expect and things like that? So things like that really helped me. I feel the second time around, the only pressure was more on the visa elapsing than my ability or my strengths in actually doing interviews. I think that experience definitely helped me from having a job, having something to talk about. Tell me about yourself. Oh, I worked in this, I did
Hmm.
this, I did this. There's so much more I could speak on now than previously. So that confidence was there with this second time.
Wow, that's so profound. And I think it also boils down to the first point you made about whatever job you find, just take it and then let that confidence spiral down into your subsequent applications or to your next role. And I think that's so important. So once you get a good start, you can then build up on that start. So let's talk a little bit about now the UK job space working in that corporate structure. You said you didn't have too many work experience before you joined. This was your first time now working as an experienced hire or even during your first entry level role. What would you say were the first initial culture shock you met in the organization, in the workplace, and how did you navigate all of that period?
So I wouldn't say I had that many cultural shocks because, like I said, in Nigeria, I didn't really have so many years of work experience for me to compare it against. So it was a case of me learning from the scratch how people react, how people interact. And I think at the very start, I'm a very quiet person, so I was more observing. And for some people, it feels like you might not be, they'll think, oh, this person is not a good member because they want you to, oh, let's go and grab a coffee, let's go and chat. And I'm just like, I don't want, I'm still trying to get my head around it. And I think over the years, I've learned a lot, I've grown a lot, and I'm still learning and still growing, really. But I think it's just the initial. I don't have specific examples that I can point out. But is that this thing of sitting back and trying to understand the way the space works, how people interact with each other, what's expected in different teams, and how to really, because I feel with different managers or different people you find, you have to present information differently or know how to relate things differently so that you can work well with them. So each time I'm in a new team or a new space, is a let's sit down and understand how everybody is and try to know how to handle different situations or different people. So that's it for
Wow.
me.
Wow, that's so helpful, and it's so true. You sometimes you just need to sit down and be observant, and dealing with small talks as well. Small talks is
Mm,
definitely a conversation that everyone always speaks about. And looking back on your journey, it's not really been the smoothest, but then it's also had its eye ups, and you've also had the downs as well. What would you tell your younger self when you just moved in 2018? This is you fresh out of uni, not so much just 1 year after uni, you're back in school again in a new city. What
mm.
would you tell your younger self?
Okay, I'll tell her that it will work out. Like first off, stop panicking. Like it's all going to work out. God's got you, basically. Like everything is going to pan out well and eventually it will be fine. I'll tell her that she should focus on what matters. So like when it's time academically, like lock in. When it's time for applying for things, lock in. Like don't be too distracted by different things. Focus on what matters, and also hang on to people along the way. So like there's so many, like that whole community thing. I think over the years you realize, oh, maybe I should have been stronger in that friendship, because you just look back and see how much that would have helped or that has helped you. So like hang on to people around you and just be a better member of a community. So it's not just you taking, but also be there for other people around you. So that's what I'll say to her. But basically, summary is going to work out. Just you're fine.
As simple as that sounds, to say just calm down, it will work out. It's
Mm,
really hard to take that in, especially when things are not falling in line. And you, like
mm,
you said, you had your visa situation where you had just about 4 months to get a new job. So it's really hard. But then I think it's just a constant reminder that okay, sometimes you really need to, you can only control what you can control after all. So
yeah, yeah.
and one thing you can't control is how you react in those situations. So I think a good place to round up as we're about to close this session would be as international students coming in now, or as whether just people coming into the country now
Mm.
without a stable stay in a sense. What piece of advice would you say you would give them? This is something that you think everyone needs to know as a migrant that is coming into the country. You need to know this to help you, help you navigate your career journey.
So one thing I'll say is be like that friend of mine because me, I came in, I was like, wait, let me study first. This is the year of study. It's okay to study, and you will study. You would, because that's directly what's in front of you. But also have it in mind that if your plan is to stay back in this country, if your plan is to get a job eventually, from the very first day you step into this country, should be you coming up with, okay, this is companies I'll apply for. This is me preparing for interviews because during that time of university, I know you're still trying to get your mind around it, but when you get a pattern and you get like your schedules and you're actually thriving, that is, you would have time. That is a good time because you have breaks along the way, holidays. That's that might be one of the good times when you have the enough space for you to prepare for interviews and everything. So it might be the best time for you to do it. Also, you're fresh. You have like it just gives yourself so that the pressure is less on you at the end. So don't wait till the end. From the very beginning, start it and just start growing that, as well as be join the community from the very beginning. Find something you like. If it is a sport in the uni, if it is a community in the uni, a community at church, whatever it is that you like, go to a place where you can find other people just like you, and you will learn so much about the country because obviously it's a new place. So much about the laws, the rules, so much about other people, so much about just how to act, things that you would need. It just helps a lot. So I think those are the two advices I'll give anybody who's moving here for the first time.
Oh wow, thank you so so much. This has really really been a very awesome chat. I'm so so thankful. Remember that you mentioned some resources earlier that you said as a someone who is in the tech space, for instance, there are places you can visit. Can you mention them, or is it
Yeah.
something that would just? I mean, you could mention some of them and then would attach the link in the description below. So.
Okay, yes. So regardless of tech, if you are making applications to any company at all, I would say Glassdoor. So Glassdoor is a place where there's different companies, they have company salaries, especially if you get a new job, you want to know how to negotiate, go and find your role and see what they typically pay in your location so that it gives you a sense. But there are also interviews. So people who have recently interviewed, they go and put questions that they answered, especially if it's a really big company. It means that there'll be more information there. So for me, it helped me. Like I went and saw recent interviews, people who have answered this kind of questions. This is the sometimes it might not be specific question, but like you know that this area is where they will ask from. They tend to look at this topic. So it helps you prepare, it helps you know what to expect. So Glassdoor for anybody, not just tech. I would say HackerRank. So hackerrank.com. You can go there and each day you're practicing new interview questions, but not just interview, but you can pick your programming language and then practice programming questions, analytical questions that helps you understand programming a lot more and just makes you clutch in different scenarios. And then there's finally LeetCode, LEET code.com. So that's the final one. So I feel all three are good resources to have as somebody in tech. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. This has been really helpful, even for people that are not in tech.
Yeah.
This is something to really take on board. Thank you once again for being on the channel. If you learned anything at all, please leave a comment. Let me know in the comments. If you've got any other question, we can pose it directly. Also, leave that in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video if it was helpful in any way, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.